Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
This is the continuation of our series of A Path with Heart, and this installment is Searching for the Buddha. And there is a saying that if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. And the first time I read that or heard that, my head snapped. That was like a shocker. Like, what in the world could that possibly mean? That doesn't, and there's all kinds of questions that arise. Buddhists are notoriously very peaceful, very, kindness, oriented, very moral, ethical, as well as, not to harm even an insect, let alone a human body. And so all of that contradiction flies in its face, which of course is always the tool that the Buddha uses to wake up, snap out of it, get out of your head, stop thinking the way you've been thinking, listen. And so it's always meant to do that. There's many meanings that one can derive from that and teachings from it, but a few include to wake up and stop expecting answers outside of yourself. If you meet the Buddha on the road, wouldn't you defer? Wouldn't you follow? Wouldn't every single movement, every word, every idea, everything that happens, every action, would be a model, would be a way to follow. And one would surrender completely and maybe even move into mocking or imitating that action, those words, and would be completely missing the point, completely missing the teaching. Because it is not how to be like this model of the Buddha, but rather to bring the Buddha consciousness that is inside of me into expression through the vehicle that known as Karen, the Christ consciousness in our tradition. Another way is that the Buddha is not outside of you, but the Buddha nature, that Christ consciousness, is within you, and only you can discover it and reveal it. In other words, there are tools, there is wisdom to share, there are teachings, there are practices, there are disciplines, there are ways to see, and getting advice and guidance and teachings from other teachers is important as part of the path, but yet there is also an internal guide within you, and you must never turn away from following that and being able to distinguish it from the ego. That's a practice in itself. But there is a path that is only your path and only your way. And that using all the tools around you will help you discern that and help you find it. Another way to look at it is the Buddha on the road is simply the ego's desire for easy answers. To be rescued from current conditions. The Buddha's here. Oh, thank God. Thank Buddha. That my life now, I can follow the teaching. I can find the right answer. I don't have to struggle anymore. I'll just ask. The Buddha will tell me. I will do that, and life will be easy again. Like there's an answer. There's a simple way, and all I have to do is obey. It's the ego's desire for easy answers to be rescued from current conditions or dissatisfactions. It's grasping for easy answers. And so the idea there is not to search for the Buddha outside of oneself, but rather within. When studying and practicing a spiritual teaching, it's important to stay alert, awake, and checking in with oneself about the teaching. In other words, does this feel right to me? If not, where's the chafing? What's not quite right? Is this still for me? Is this my way? Is this the way that's taking me into peace? The goal is always peace and freedom. Peace and freedom. Freedom and peace. Peace and freedom. If you find either of those present in a piece of wisdom or in an action or in a practice or in some writing or an imagery or a thought or an idea, if you find peace or freedom, an open expansion, expansiveness, you're onto something. Hang on to that. That is the thing. Cornfield says, when we're faced with a variety of spiritual teachings and practices, we must keep a genuine sense of inquiry. What is the effect of these teachings and practices on myself and others, you might ask? In his last words, the Buddha said, we must be a lamp unto ourselves. We must shine the light before our own feet. Ooh. Ooh. And doesn't that sound like a red carpet for the ego? Yes, it can be. And therein lies the rub, the balance, the trick. I was raised Catholic, and when I discovered unity and felt called into ministry, I began some in-depth study. Actually on my own, because I had been coming to actually this is my home church. I'd been coming to this church for a couple of years when I felt the calling. And in that time, I had never bothered to take a class or read a book, and then, or become a member. I kept hearing about membership, and I was like, member? I was Catholic, All I had to do was move into another parish and give them my address, and they would send me my collection envelopes with my address on it and their return address. And I was on the rolls. I was there. I was registered in a way. I didn't know anything about this membership thing. And so I went and found out about where are the teachings of unity? What exactly would it be? And I was told Lessons in Truth would be the book to read that would embody it. What I was really searching for was the creed. I was looking for what is it that unity believes. I wanted all those unity principles I'd been hearing about on a page. I wanted to see it in front of me because I was considering changing my life, changing my family's life. I was going to turn my back on my profession, my career that I had worked toward. I was making a huge investment. I was contemplating it. And I needed to know this wasn't a fad, I needed to know this wasn't some fly-by-night organization that I had happened into, and for a while it felt good to be here, but I was on to something else. You've got some of those in your background, right? Some places you've been that were cool for a while, but they just didn't hold up. Well, I couldn't afford that. So I sat with Lessons in Truth. It's a very thin book. It's 12 chapters, but it's a very thin book. I could easily have paged through it and read it in one sitting almost. And instead, it took me about 6 months, because what I did was I read it one paragraph at a time, and I would stop and I would consider, can I believe that? Do I believe that? Does that feel true? Can I understand that? And if I can, then how would I teach this to somebody else? And I would rehearse words I might use to describe it in my own words to somebody else. And when I was satisfied with that, I would move to the next paragraph. It was that important to me, and it took me that long to assure myself that I was on track with something that was real and something I could hold in myself. That is, I think, a way in which I, in my own way, shone the light on my own path, that I didn't surrender my own understanding. And there were challenges in those pages that I had to overcome, and I had to work it out for myself. And again, I hadn't taken a class or a book. I hadn't sought a teacher out just yet. I didn't want to declare myself until I knew for sure this was the way I would go. Because you see, the purpose of the spiritual path isn't a goal achievement. It's not to become a unity minister, for instance. It isn't. To become a unity minister was not the purpose of my spiritual life. It is the vehicle. It is a role I play. It is a fulfillment of my soul, yes, but it is a medium through which my soul expresses. And I wouldn't have to be in this role necessarily to express the light that I am, but this fits me, and this was my calling for this lifetime. The purpose of the spiritual path is to cultivate and return to wisdom, compassion, to freedom, and truth. Those four things. Wisdom actually comes from the heart. We think it's up here, it's not. It's right here. Wisdom, you know it right here. It just comes out of your heart. Compassion, also heart, but an expansiveness of the heart, and a way to embrace, a way to engage. Freedom, expansion again. Freedom, big, embracing. And truth, deep. Ping, ping. You know, when you hear truth, ping goes off. Let these be your touchstones, however you reach them and however long you experience them. And these are not goals to be achieved. Oh, I have wisdom now. Oh, I'm compassionate now. Oh, I'm free now. Oh, I know truth now. No. These are eternal, they are limitless, and they are states of being. The depth of wisdom, the expansion of compassion, how big, how much can you endure? How much can you hold? How much can you accept? How big can you, much more could you embrace? State of freedom. Entering into freedom is a state, and you can stay there until you contract again. Then you drop out, and you become imprisoned for a moment by fear or concern or worry or anxiety or whatever, until you remember the truth, and you enter into a state of truth and awareness of truth. In Matthew, someone came to Jesus and said, "Teacher, what good deed must I do to have eternal life?" And he said to him, "Why do you ask me what is good? There's only one who is good. If you wish to enter into eternal life, keep the commandments." He said to him, "Which ones should I keep?" And Jesus said, "You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, honor your father and mother. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." And the young man said to him, "I have kept all of these. What do I still lack?" Jesus said to him, "If you wish to be perfect, go sell your possessions, give money to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me." When the young man heard this word, he went away grieving, for he had many possessions. What Jesus was saying is that it's not just how to act in the world, how to appear spiritual or holy or good. What good deed must I do? What looks right? Because it's not about how we look or act. It is what energy we come from. What is within us that is being revealed? What is the truth of us? What is our authentic self coming into expression? Jesus also said, strive first for the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. The kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven, what does he say? Where does he say it is? It is in the midst of you. It is within you. It is the Christ consciousness. It is the portal through which every good thing comes. Every blessing, every grace, every beautiful thing, all love. No matter what path you choose or teacher to follow, you must remain aware of that ping, touching truth in your heart center. That's what you pay attention to. That's what you notice. It happens on its own as well. It's not something you can gin up and make happen. You can't make something mean something and get that ping. It catches you off guard because it comes when you least expect it often. It grabs your attention. It wakes you up. Snap out of it. Ah. Smell the coffee. Ah. Oh, that's what it means. You suddenly know that you know that you know. You suddenly know that you know that you know. This is the truth. That's what it is. Ah, I see it now. And you have no need to run around and convince anyone of it. You might want to go celebrate. You might share it with someone who loves you or someone that you want to. Guess what? An insight today. I got it. But it's not to convince them or to get their buy-in from it. You know what is true. And if they don't accept it, and if they brush you off because it brushes up against something that's a little painful for them or a little sticky for them or something that challenges them, that's okay. You know to pull back. You know to protect it because you know that you know that you know. Because the ping in your heart. Cornfield says, in his last words, the Buddha said, we must be a lamp unto ourselves. We must find our own true way. Jean from Massachusetts lost her husband to suicide. In her grief, she had studied and meditated with a Tibetan community and a Sufi community, and she had also visited a Christian mystical community as well. And after he had died and she was being consoled and working through her grief, a Tibetan friend came up to her and said, I saw him. Your husband, he's fine. The vision was so clear. He was entering the bardo of light of the Western realm of the Bodhisattva Amitabha. I could sense it so clearly. Everything is fine. And she was heartened by that. And then her Christian friend saw her, and she said, I saw your husband. He's fine. I've seen him. I had a profound vision in my meditation, and he's surrounded by white light in the heaven of the ascended masters. And this confused Jean a little bit and shook her up. And then a Sufi master, an old friend of hers, was visiting. And he said, your husband is fine, you know. He's already entered a womb and will take birth in a female body through parents living in the Washington, D.C. area. I've been following his consciousness in my meditation. She was definitely confused and upset and came to Jack Cornfield and asked what she should do with this information. And so he asked her to consider carefully what she actually knew herself. If she put aside the Tibetan teachings and the Sufi teachings and the Christian mystical teachings and looked in her own being and in her own heart, what did she already know that was so certain that even if Jesus and the Buddha were to sit in the same room and say, no, it's not, she could look them straight in the eye and say, yes, it is. I was asking her to put away all her philosophies and beliefs, the maps of past and future lives and more, reminding her what she might be, which she knew, which might be very simple actually. And finally, out of the quiet, she said, I know that everything changes, and not much more than that. Everything that is born dies. Everything in life is in the process of change. I then asked her if perhaps that wasn't enough. Could she live her life from that simple truth, fully and honestly, not holding on to what inevitably must be let go? And perhaps this simple understanding would be enough to live a wise and spiritual life. Cornfield says, it's not perfection we must seek, but freedom of the heart. In the words of the Buddha, just as the waters of the great oceans all have one taste, the taste of salt, so too, all true teachings have but one taste, the taste of liberation. Liberation comes not as a process of self-improvement or perfecting the body or the personality. We learn to see with the heart, which loves, rather than the mind, which compares and defines. In the meditation practice that you used this evening, whatever your experience was or wasn't, Jack Cornfield uses that meditation many times in his workshops and retreats. And he's listened to the experiences that people have come to him with. And here are a few of those examples. Here are some of the simple solutions of the guided meditation that have come from the groups he's had. He said, someone saw the Buddha coming to replace them, to confront an angry boss about an overdue project. The Buddha stayed present and strong, yet kept his body soft. The only words he said were, you must feel a great deal of responsibility for holding all of this together. Immediately, the boss softened, and the employee and he were able to talk. In another, a person was on a home visit with very critical parents, where the goddess of compassion took over her body, and instead of fighting them, simply sat down, watched TV with them, and tried to love them anyway. As the goddess left, she whispered in the ear of the frustrated daughter, "Don't go home too often." Another image was of Mother Mary, who came to a mother who pictured herself harried in the morning with 3 demanding children, feeling there was no time for herself, struggling greatly with the situation. Mother Mary came in and sat down on the floor and started to play with the kids. She set limits, mind you, and sent them off when it was time for them to go to school. But mostly, she gave them whatever they wanted. When she left, she whispered to the harried mother's ears, "Just love them a lot, and don't worry about the housework." The lamp of understanding is instilled inside of us. The heart is the space within us. It is the vessel through which the teaching comes, and the teacher speaks, and the wisdom arises, and the ping of resonant truth sounds. You are calibrated perfectly for the conditions in your life. Trust that. Trust yourself. Read what feeds you. Spend time in meditation. Nurture yourself. Bring loving friends into your life. Find wise teachers. But in every case, reference back to whether this is true for you. How is it true? And how might you go forth to be the light you are? And so it is. Namaste.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.